What if I told you, like, our minds, they might actually be bigger than our brains? Literally. Look, way bigger.
Right.
What if consciousness, what we think of as ourselves, what if it's not just stuck in our heads, but, like, has roots in, like, other dimensions, dimensions we can't even see or experience normally?
Okay, yeah.
That's what we're diving into today, this whole idea.
All right.
We're taking off from, there's this article in the Economic Times. And let me tell you, it gets kind of out there.
I bet.
But that's what we do here, right?
Yep.
Deep dives.
Love it.
So this theory, it's from physicist Michael Pravica, and he's suggesting that consciousness, and stick with me here, it isn't just some side effect of our brains, like a byproduct.
Right, right.
But that it can actually, like, connect to these hidden dimensions.
Interesting.
Especially, and this is key, like when we're in those flow states.
What do you mean?
You know those moments? A creative breakthrough, deep meditation, even a crazy, vivid dream, anything where things just click.
I feel you.
So, to be clear, this Pravica, he's a professor of physics at University of Nevada.
Oh, wow. So not just like some guy.
Exactly. So he's coming at this seriously,
Right.
But still, this theory, it's stirring up some serious debate in the science world.
I bet. So how does he explain it? Like, how does this connection even work?
So get this, he uses this analogy, right, about like a 2D being, living on a flat plane, and they encounter a 3D sphere.
Okay.
Okay, so imagine, like, you're that flat shape, living on a piece of paper. Your whole world is flat.
Right.
And then a sphere, a 3D sphere, passes through your world.
Got it.
You wouldn't see the whole sphere, right? Just like slices of it, circles appearing and disappearing, changing size.
Oh, I see.
You'd have no way to grasp the sphere as a whole.
Yeah.
Because your perception, it's trapped in 2D, like that awesome scene in Flatland. Ever see that?
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Pravica's point is, maybe we're those flat shapes.
We're missing a whole dimension.
We could have all these higher dimensions around us, but our senses, they only pick up on 3D.
I see what you're saying, but then how do these, like, heightened states of awareness fit in? You were saying there's a connection there.
Right. Okay, so his idea is that in those aha moments, those big insights, maybe, just maybe, our consciousness is briefly syncing up with these higher dimensions.
Oh.
Wild, right?
Yeah.
But hold on, because not everyone's buying it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
The article, it also brings in this other guy, Stephen Haller. He's a physics professor at Fordham, and he is skeptical.
Makes sense. It is a pretty out there idea. What does he say?
So Haller, he's like, just because mathematicians can describe higher dimensions with math
Right.
doesn't mean they're actually real.
Okay, I mean, true. There's a difference between a theory and actually proving it.
Totally. And Haller keeps going. He's like, look, even with our best tech, like the Large Hadron Collider, we haven't found any hard proof of these extra dimensions.
That's a good point. You'd think if they were real, we would have seen something by now, right?
Exactly. It really makes you think, like, what would it even take to prove or disprove this?
Yeah.
It's one thing to imagine it, but actually designing an experiment for it, that's tough.
Yeah. How do you test for something you don't even fully understand?
Now, here's where it gets really interesting, like a whole other layer to this.
Okay.
Pravica, he's an Orthodox Christian.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he sees a deep connection between these higher dimensions and, like, spiritual concepts, heaven, for example.
Really?
He even asks, how do you ascend into heaven if you're just a four-dimensional creature?
That is an interesting question. So he's suggesting that these spiritual ideas might actually have a basis in I don't know, like real science.
That's what he's hinting at. Like, maybe our understanding of spirituality, the afterlife, maybe it's all tied to this higher dimensional reality we're just starting to glimpse.
Wow. Okay, that is a lot to unpack.
Right, I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to think about, right? Like, even if right now we can't really, like, prove or disprove this whole theory with what we got, just thinking about it, like exploring the idea, that could lead us to some crazy discoveries.
That's what I'm saying.
New tech, maybe, or a completely different way of looking at the universe, ourselves even.
See, that's what gets me so jazzed. It's not even about being right, at least not yet. It's that journey, asking those big what-if questions.
Exactly. Like this whole thing, higher dimensions, consciousness, it makes you question everything.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay. Think about creativity. Like, where does that come from? Those big breakthroughs, ideas popping out of nowhere. Is it just neurons firing?
Right.
Or could it be, and just hear me out, what if it's, like Pravica says, these glimpses into, like, a pure thought dimension, stuff beyond our normal senses?
Whoa, okay, now you're blowing my mind here. So you're saying, like, artists, musicians, whoever, When they're in the zone, they're tapping into something else, like outside our reality.
It's a trip, right? And it makes you wonder about intuition, too.
Oh, man, okay. Yeah.
Those gut feelings, knowing things you shouldn't, echoes from other dimensions, maybe? Signals we barely pick up on?
Now I'm thinking back to every time I had a hunch and it was right. But seriously, that's kind of spooky, but cool if our intuition's doing that.
Right, and even if, and this is a big if, even if Pravica doesn't have the whole picture here,
Yeah.
it makes you think differently, challenge what we think we know, you know?
And isn't that what science should be doing? Asking those crazy what-if questions,
Yeah.
even if they seem impossible now.
Exactly. Look at history. Things people thought were nuts, heresy even, sometimes they become common knowledge.
No, for real. People thought the Earth was flat once upon a time.
Exactly. And now we've got satellites taking selfies with our big, round planet. So even if we can't prove Pravica right or wrong today, just investigating it, that could lead to some serious breakthroughs.
I like that way of looking at it.
Right. It's not just about the destination, it's the journey, too.
100%.
And who knows, someday we might look back at this conversation, right, and be like, man, we knew nothing. Like looking at those old maps with dragons on the edges, we'll laugh.
Dragons on the edges of what we know. I love it. Okay, but real quick, bringing it back to Pravica. If we can access these higher dimensions, what are they even like? What's the experience?
That, my friend, is the million-dollar question. And honestly, the article, it doesn't really go there.
Oh, come on.
It's more about the connection itself being possible.
So we're left hanging with more questions than answers.
In a way, yeah, but that's kind of exciting now. This whole thing, it's a Pandora's box. It's making us imagine stuff we haven't even thought of yet.
And maybe, just maybe, through science, by understanding consciousness better, we can actually crack open those higher dimensions, learn what's inside.
Right.
Okay, but for argument's sake, let's say he's right. What's it feel like to have your consciousness do that, connect to a higher dimension?
Man, that sparks the imagination, doesn't it?
No kidding.
Is it like, bam, sudden knowledge? Or feeling like you're part of everything? Or maybe it's so beyond us we don't even have the words for it yet.
It's crazy to think about. I mean, the article doesn't really get into, like, personal stories, but it does make you wonder about those people who claim to have had mystical experiences, visions, feeling like they're outside their body or just incredibly connected to everything. Could that be it? Could those be glimpses?
Could be. Got to be careful about jumping to conclusions we need proof, right? But even asking the question opens up whole new paths for research.
I am all about asking what if. That's how we learn.
100%. And one thing I think is cool about all this is Pravica's not saying the brain doesn't matter.
That's true. He's not saying it's all just some vague energy.
He sees the brain as a receiver, like a super sophisticated antenna tuned to these higher dimensions, but only under certain conditions.
So our brain's not making consciousness. It's more like channeling it from somewhere else.
Right. Exactly. And that idea, it could totally change how we look at neuroscience, even artificial intelligence.
Oh, okay. Now we're going even further down the rabbit hole. What do you mean about AI?
Think about it. If consciousness isn't just a physical thing, if it exists independently, then all our attempts to build AI by just copying the brain, that might be totally wrong.
So instead of building a brain in a computer, we need to build something that can, like, tune into consciousness, like Pravica's saying.
That's the idea. It's a whole new game for AI.
This is why I love these deep dives, man. We start with this one article, and suddenly we're questioning reality, tech, the future of thinking machines. It just explodes outwards.
It's all connected, right? And that's what's so amazing about these big questions. Whether Pravica's right or wrong, this reminds us there's still so much we don't know about the universe and our place in it.
And it makes you think, just maybe, our minds are way more vast, way more mysterious than we ever thought possible.
Exactly. And on that note, I have one final thought to leave everyone with.
Hit me with it.
We keep talking about our consciousness reaching into higher dimensions, but what if it's the other way around? What if they're already reaching into us?
Okay, now you've really got my attention. What do you mean?
Think about it. What if these higher dimensions, if they're out there, are already affecting our world in ways we barely understand? What if creativity, those gut feelings, even love, it's all echoes of something bigger, a higher kind of consciousness working through us?
Wow. Okay, that's kind of a beautiful thought.
It is, isn't it?
It's like what Pravica is talking about is just the very beginning, like we're peeking through a crack in the door at something much bigger and more amazing than we ever imagined. It's like we're just scratching the surface here,
Totally. And like, as we keep digging into this stuff, the mind, the universe, who knows what we'll find, right?
That's what it's all about, right? Always exploring, always questioning. Big thanks to all you listeners out there for joining us on this wild ride, diving deep into consciousness, higher dimensions, all that good
That
stuff.
was a good word.
Until next time, folks, keep looking up, keep those brains buzzing, and never be afraid to ask those big what-if questions.
Never stop questioning.
You never know what amazing stuff we'll uncover together when we dare to think outside the box, beyond what we think we know.